Bonjour, moi c'est Gbenga. Okay, so you started learning a language for immigration purposes or for educational purposes, but the process has seemed slow so far, or perhaps you've started learning the language but you are not still there yet, 3 months, 5 months afterwards. If that is you, then stick around. Okay, so today we're going to look at my 10 best language learning tips or techniques to make you learn any language fast enough. And number one on my list is to know your motivation. So ask yourself, why am I learning this language? Is it for immigration purposes? Is it for education? Is it to travel to a new country? Is it to explore? If you can answer the question why, then it becomes easier from there on. Okay, so you ask yourself, why am I doing this? Because when you're able to answer why, then you are motivated to carry out the other 9 steps that we'll see later in this video. Okay, so that's the first thing. Ask yourself why. So why are you learning the language you're learning right now? I'd like to know. Tell me in the comment section below, okay? So number one, know your motivation. Why are you learning the language? So personally, I love to travel, and that was my primary motivation. That was one of my primary motivations to actually learn French language. So I find myself in Nigeria, country surrounded by French-speaking countries, and I wanted to explore West Africa. So I needed to learn French so I could find it easier in these countries. That was one of my primary motivations, and that was why I stayed motivated. Okay, if I wanted to travel in December, I have to learn French in so period of time. Okay, so what is your motivation? I'd like to know in the comment section below. My number 2 tip, so after knowing your motivation, then we are sure that you are really serious about this adventure. Right, the number 2 thing is to find a study partner. Okay, so find someone you can practice with daily. In my own case, I found someone from Cote d'Ivoire, who is still a friend today, to communicate with friends. So even though I'm not traveling to Cote d'Ivoire, even though I find myself in an Anglophone country, I made Francophone friends. So I had a Francophone partner who I still talk to today. We will speak together in French, learning vocabulary, learn new expressions. So my number 2 tip for you is to find a study partner, preferably a native of the language you want to learn. So if you're learning Chinese, then I think you should find a Chinese partner. If you're learning French, find a Francophone or someone good at French. Okay, if you're learning Spanish, definitely be someone that understands Spanish that could correct you. Okay, so that's my number 2 tip. Find a study partner. However, this partner does not really need to be an expert in the field. You could just find someone that's willing to practice together with you. In fact, you could be both beginners, but you're intentional in learning new vocabulary, in practicing every day, because really the essence and the secret to learning any language is practicing that language. Okay, so daily practice with a language partner or a study partner. Okay, so the number 3 point is to talk to yourself. Okay, so if you can't find a partner, or you're an introvert and you don't like to just open up to people, then you could talk to yourself. When I started learning French, this was what I actually did. I would look at the mirror and talk to myself in French every day. At least I did that for 5 or 10 minutes daily. So if there's any vocabulary I think of and I can't really get a hold of it in French, I go to my French dictionary, check the vocabulary, go back to the mirror. So it seems crazy, it seems silly, but it really works. Okay, so if you can't find a partner to practice with, I would strongly suggest that you talk to yourself. Most times when I'm going on the road, I even talk to myself in French and just say, okay, this, that. So maybe you will not be like me, but when you wake up every day, you could talk to yourself. Tell yourself what you're going to do today. So if you're learning French, for instance, you could say, okay, today, what am I going to do today? And try to express yourself in your target language. Okay, so in French, you could tell yourself about your plans for the day. Say, bon, aujourd'hui, je vais aller au bureau, je vais aller au travail, et puis je vais faire une promenade le soir, je vais rendre visite à mon cousin. So just try to just express yourself in your target language, talk to yourself, okay? Bravo. Okay, so this may sound a little bit weird, but this is actually effective, especially when you don't get to use the language all the time, or perhaps your environment where you are is not where you really speak that language. For instance, I'm in Nigeria, and in Nigeria we don't speak, don't speak French, we speak English and indigenous languages. So how do I keep up? Okay, I try to talk to myself every day if I can find a partner. So you can be like me, perhaps you're in the United States and you're learning French. It's really going to be rare for you to find French speakers in the United States, French community where you speak French every day. But you could create a community yourself in your room. Okay, so if you can't find a partner, why not make yourself a partner and talk to yourself in the target language? Okay, because this will make you keep new words and new expressions fresh in your mind. Okay, so when you keep repeating them daily, it keeps them fresh, other than you just keeping them to yourself and not expressing them out. So another reason why I like this is because it boosts your confidence. Okay, so when the time comes when you actually need to talk to a French speaking person or a native speaker, then you already build that confidence because you've already let those expressions out. Okay, unlike just consuming all and not having the opportunity to actually express them. Okay, so if you can't find a partner, please talk to yourself at least 5 minutes a day in your target language. Say complete. Bravo. Okay, so my next tip is connect with people, native speakers on social media. I can't stress this enough. Okay, so if you're learning French, for instance, I expect you to follow French channels on Instagram, French accounts, news accounts, sport accounts, individual celebrities. When you do this, you learn new vocabulary, you learn new expressions, and you immerse yourself in the language even without leaving the four corners of your room. Okay, so your Twitter, your Facebook, I think you should have more friends in the language you want to learn, and that is what I did. So what I did was to create a special account for that. Okay, so on that account I only followed French people, French news channels, sports programs and all that, just in a bit to learn vocabulary, expand my vocabulary bank, and really immerse myself in the language even without going to France or any other francophone country. So I believe you can do that too. If you're learning Spanish, for instance, you could just go to the Spanish Twitter community, join Facebook groups in the target language. I think this will really help a lot. Alright, my next tip is to have fun with the language. Just to ask yourself, what are you passionate about? What do you like doing? Okay, so if you like playing football, for instance, then you can start watching commentaries in the target language. Okay, if you like cooking, for instance, search on YouTube and watch recipes, cooking channels, YouTube channels in that target language. So ask yourself, what are you passionate about? There is something you're passionate about that has been done in that target language. Why not take advantage of it? Yeah. So I love sports. I love football. So instead of listening to English commentary, what I do is I prefer to listen to French commentary. So this is a way to immerse myself. This is a way to get more familiar with sport vocabulary, more familiar with the way French people speak. And this has really improved my French greatly. Okay, so the next tip is to act like a child. Okay, so have you seen a kid trying to learn? A kid is not afraid to make mistakes. A kid is not self-conscious of making mistakes. A kid has the desire to just express him or herself in any target language. Okay, so if you really want to learn a language, I think you should begin to act like a child. I'm not saying you should behave like a child, but you could tap into the way kids learn. Okay, how do kids learn? Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Mistakes are part of life. I think this is one of the primary problems we have when learning any language. You don't want to be laughed at. You don't want to say something and you want to feel embarrassed. But I think the best way to learn any language is to be willing to make mistakes, because if I'm teaching you French and you don't make mistakes, I assume that you know them. But when you're free to express yourself, you're free to make mistakes, then the teacher, the tutor can come in and correct you, and it stays with you forever. Okay, so act like a child when learning a language. Be free to make mistakes. Don't be too self-conscious of yourself. Be free with the language. Have the desire to play with the language. It's new. Mind you, it's not your language. Okay, so you're free to make mistakes. Okay. Okay, so another great tip is to leave your comfort zone. Okay, you could change your phone settings to French. You could go out and speak to people. When you have the opportunity to speak the language, don't be shy. Okay, don't be shy to speak the language. Just express yourself. Make your mistakes. Okay, so don't stay in the comfort zone. Okay, I'm just learning French in my room. I'm learning. What is the essence of learning when you don't practice? What's the essence of learning? Okay, so learn. Leave your comfort zone, meet new people, talk to strangers. When you see a French comment on social media and you want to respond, but you're afraid of making mistakes, don't be afraid. Leave that comfort zone, respond in that target language. Make mistakes, let them correct you. When they correct you, it becomes part of you forever. Okay, so leave your comfort zone of I'm learning on my own, I just want to be on my own. No, talk to strangers. It even makes you have new friends. It makes you have new friends and meet new people. Okay, so leave your comfort zone and immerse yourself in the language as much as you can. Okay, so my next tip is to listen. Okay, because you actually learn to listen before you learn to speak. Just like a baby learns to listen before he or she learns to speak. That's why one of the first expressions the baby says when they're little is baba, baba, mama, mama. Okay, because that is what they listen, that is what they hear. Okay, so the more you listen to news, sports, podcasts in your target language, the more you learn subconsciously how to speak, the more you learn the accent, the more you learn to pronounce words correctly. Okay, so listen, personally, if you're learning French, I would recommend wepodcast.com. So wepodcast.com. I recommend TV5 Monde. Another, so you could just do a Google search for podcasts in the language you want to learn and keep listening. Okay, so one thing I've learned about listening is that even if you don't understand, there's a way it gets into your subconscious. The next time you want to use that vocabulary, then it becomes almost natural for you to use it and to pronounce them correctly. Okay, so whether you understand or not, I recommend just listen and have the flow. Okay, just enjoy the flow. As you advance, the expressions, the words begin to make more sense to you. C'est bon? Alright, my next tip is to watch others talk. Okay, so if you are not in the environment where the language is spoken, you could watch TV shows, you could watch movies. Personally, recently I found interest in Lupin, and what I did was, at every point of the movie, I pause the movie, repeat the expressions out loud. Okay, if I learn any new expressions, I try to imitate them the way they speak it. So if they say ah bon, I say ah bon. Okay, so I just try to imitate them just get a feel and pronounce those words, pronounce the expressions the way they ought to be pronounced. Okay, so you can do that too. Watch and imitate. Okay, so if they say oh, you too, oh, okay. And my last point is to get a private tutor. I can't stress this enough. Yes, you can learn any language on your own. So if you want to go fast, you could go alone, but if you want to go far, then I suggest you get yourself a private tutor. Now, this person doesn't really need to be a private tutor, but have someone that can give you assignments, have someone you can practice with, have someone that can correct you, have a scheduled class, especially in the beginning stages. Okay, someone that can explain the rules to you. This is what we do, this is how it's done, and all that. This is indispensable. However, it is not obligatory, but I have found it very useful to find yourself a private tutor. Alright, so which of these points, which of these tips have you been doing? Which one will you start doing? I would like to know in the comment section below. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you will be the first to know when I upload new videos on culture, grammar and vocabulary. Merci beaucoup d'avoir suivi et à très bientôt.